Yeah.
I'm gonna get the bowl going and get some vibes going here.
Mm. Hmm. I actually also have one. Like, we're like,
Go.
we're so paralleling in so many ways. Whew. Wow.
It's good.
Hmm.
Very good. And I feel ready to share my intention for tonight. And maybe you want to share your own, to just honestly and authentically share my mother's story and my story of losing her and how that impacted me and my art, and just allowing that honesty and vulnerability to come through loud and clear. So that is my intention for tonight. And I hope too that those who are tuning in feel comforted and heard and seen by our conversation.
Hmm. That's beautiful. Um, I would really love this as an opportunity for me to honor my mom's life and and all the lessons that she taught me and is still teaching me. Um, yeah, I would love this to be more of a celebration of their lives. Um, and yeah, I use this conversation to remember her.
Absolutely.
Mm.
What was your mom's name?
Marie Noel.
Marina.
Mm.
Thank you, Marina.
Mm. And yours was Marina?
Oh no, my mom's name was Diana.
Diana. Wow. So Marie Noel and Diana.
Diana Joy, actually.
Wow. Mm.
So where do we start? It's always kind of tough to talk about this kind of stuff, and it feels big,
I know.
yet very personal. Um,
I know. And I have a tendency to like, my mechanism is to like laugh about like when it's something really serious. So I'm going to try to just like ground myself. Best memory. Wow. That's a good question.
memory.
Um, my mom used to like she would dance and she would like teach me these kind of like funny dance moves and yeah, she would like sing and um yeah, those are my best memories of her.
Mm.
Mm.
Sounds like a very expressive woman, dancing and singing.
Yeah, in some ways she was, yeah. Hmm.
One of my best memories of my mom was her. And I told this story at her funeral. Was her making me a Jasmine costume, you know, Jasmine from the Aladdin movie when I was a young girl. I loved that movie and I wanted to be Jasmine in this talent show. And we couldn't afford a commercially branded costume. So she went and she took one of her dresses out of the closet and she cut it up and sewed it up and she made a Jasmine costume for me
Oh.
with what she had. And that story, I think, really embodies my mom's spirit, that she was really heart-centered in terms of her expression and her willingness to sacrifice and use her ingenuity also to show her children love
Mm.
and to share her joy of
Mm.
creating
Mm.
with us.
Oh, yeah. Mm. And it was probably like the best dress ever, right? It was beautiful.
I got a picture of
Oh yeah.
myself somewhere as a little girl going like this
Mhm.
in my little genie pants and
Mhm.
yeah, trying my little exhibitionist coming out. Um,
Mhm.
so I guess maybe we should give folks a little bit of a background as to how this conversation came to even be. Um, you know, you approaching me with the idea because our stories are so surprisingly similar.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, yeah, I approached you actually. I made a post like a little over a year ago when my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and you actually like commented that your mom had cancer, and I didn't see it until like recently. I was looking at this post and then I saw your comment and I was like, oh wow, like she went through the same thing that I went through, and I reached out to you and asked you how is your mom, and you shared with me that she had passed in January,
Mm-hmm.
and then I shared with you that mine had passed as well in April, and I see from like your post that like you're very much pursuing like your creativity and you have this like strong like fire within you, like that's just what I'm sensing of you, and I felt like yeah, like I also feel this energy as well. um and then like I asked you some more questions and like you're also living in now you're in Serbia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Yeah.
living in Lithuania, and we're both from like North America, and like there's just like a lot of similarities. And and then I intuitively felt like maybe we should have this conversation and maybe we should have this live. And I've never done anything like this before, so this is my first time. Um, but somehow I felt like this could be something that could be healing for both of us and maybe more people.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I'm so grateful that you're that you accepted and that you're so open to holding the space, and I feel like you're doing it so beautifully, and I'm really happy that we're doing this. And yeah, it's a really beautiful opportunity.
Likewise. Yeah, I notice myself. I mean, grief is kind of a funny thing that obviously I was very devastated to lose my mom, but I think my first response was to busy myself and
Wow.
to, yeah, fill my time so much that I really didn't have time to be sad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was a little while after she passed away that um, my dad and her used to RV full time. And after she passed, we encouraged him to go on his first RV ride without her, with us as a family, myself, my partner, and my son. And we went to Quartzsite, Arizona, which is where they like to go together to find crystals and stuff. And it was there that I took an art therapy class I found online through Art Your Grief. And they are on Instagram if any of you are interested. It's a beautiful woman who I believe lost her daughter, who runs that program, Art Your Grief. And I signed up for a class, and I was sitting in the trailer by myself taking this class, and it just all came out, and I realized that had been holding it all in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
Mm-hmm.
through that creative expression, in that moment, I was able to really reconnect with the experience and with her, with my mom, and really find a little bit more, I guess, joy again, and realize that, yes, this experience is devastating and sad, but that she's still, like, the memories I have of her are all really joyful
Mm-hmm.
memories, and I feel grateful to that.
Mm-hmm. Really true to her name.
Definitely, for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
What about you though? What was your grieving
Um,
experience like?
I really resonate with what you said about like busying yourself up so you don't have to like feel the emotions. And um so I found out about my mom's death on a Thursday evening, and then I went back to work on Friday.
Wow.
And then I was working, and I was working, and I didn't take a break, and I didn't take a leave. And I also noticed that, you know, one of the lessons that I learned was that you really have to take care of yourself, like us. Like, we need to take care of ourselves because no one is going to do it for us. And so I actually, the only moment that I had to really process this was exactly a month after she passed. I went to an ayahuasca ceremony,
Mm.
and the first night was really nice. It was like good feelings, like everything's, like light and stuff. And then the second night was, that's,
Oh, wow.
it all hit me. And I was crying and puking and like in fetal position, like all night, and processing my mom's law, like the loss of my mom, and the guilt and the shame for, because I was in Lithuania when she passed,
Mm.
and I was with her. um like I went back to Canada for a few months, and then she was at the hospital and she was getting better, and then I felt this pressure to come back to work because I was working as a teacher at the time. And um and I saw that she was getting better, and I thought that, okay, she's getting better, she's improving. I'm gonna go back to work. And then she passed exactly a week after I left.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, there was a lot of guilt, and but during the ceremony, I felt her. Um, and I felt like everything was okay. Like, I felt like she knows and she's forgiven me, and I know, and I've forgiven her, and like everything was kind of just like equalized and harmonized, and yeah.
Wow. Um, what's been your kind of experience since then? That seems like a really powerful experience to connect with her spirit, through the plant medicine. And then, how did you feel like it impacted or shifted things for you after that?
Um, in which way?
Maybe, and how did it impact your creative expression or thoughts about your life trajectory?
Um, well, I mean, it made me realize how fragile life is, and it made me realize um, that, we have actually very little time on this earth, and we never know when we're gonna go, right? And what do we want to do with this precious time that we have? And what do we want to fill our life with? And we always have a choice, like what we want in our life, like what we allow in our life. And I felt like, and I have always felt this way, but I didn't feel like I had the strength or the motivation. um, and I had a lot of fear around like pursuing art.
Mm.
um, and in some sense, like I feel like I'm, because my mother, she was a very creative woman, but she never allowed herself to pursue art. Like, even on her deathbed, like she would do these beautiful doodles, and I would like go visit her and like look at these drawings and like ask her, like, did you draw this? And she's like, yeah. And I would think to myself, like, oh my god, they're so beautiful. um but she sacrificed herself and kind of like put herself last, and worked really, really hard, um, yeah, to provide for her family. And somehow I wanted to almost like break that um, fear to follow like my heart.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and somehow this gave me the courage to do that. Yeah.
Mm. Do you feel kind of like, at least in my experience, I kind of feel like my mom's spirit's almost living vicariously through me now?
Mm-hmm.
um, I noticed some differences in our experience now, like at the end parts,
Mm-hmm.
because I was present at my mom's deathbed. Like me and my dad and my sister were sitting right there when she took her last breath, and it was an unforgettable moment. Um, and when she left, I felt like this burst of energy came and hit me in the chest. And even my dad said, "Did you feel that?" Um,
Wow.
and before she had passed away, we had invited them to our house for like a paint party. This was before cancer had taken away her mobility and her ability to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And she did this whole weird abstract orangey yellow thing. And at the end, she signed the back of it and she called it uh, meteor exploding into the sun, adding its energy.
Wow.
And I didn't understand it at all. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's cool, mom. It's
Mm-hmm.
cute.
Mm-hmm.
And when she passed, I instantly knew the meaning of that painting. And being a Leo sun, and she's a Scorpio, so we could talk about Pluto, whether or
Mm-hmm.
not it's a meteor. I know it's not, but I felt that like the depth of that in that moment, and since then have truly felt like you said, like I'm getting a chance to kind of live on in the ways that maybe she couldn't have or would have wanted to continue doing or have a chance to experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that adds to my feeling of this is what I need to be doing. Like my creative expression is what I need to be doing. Like
Mm.
it is meant to be.
I love how you articulated everything. It's so beautiful. Mm. Mm. Absolutely.
Um,
Mm.
so I'm curious because it sounds like your mom was a secret closet
Yes,
illustrator.
absolutely.
And I know that you are also an illustrator among many other things.
Mm.
Do you feel like her creativity has influenced yours, or how would you describe that?
Um, okay, my take on it might be a little bit like unexpected, but I feel like creativity has been repressed in my family line for
Mhm.
many generations. And there are different reasons for that. Like my mom had a very challenging, traumatic childhood. Like she came from a very poor background, and her mother, and then her mother. So I felt like
Mm.
with me, um, I always felt like kind of like the black sheep of the family. Like somehow I wasn't able to suppress it. And like I was a little bit like more rebellious, and like I didn't want to do things like I couldn't do things the way that I'm supposed to. Um, and I felt like maybe all the things that were repressed um, intergenerationally, like I had to kind of be the one to just like let it out,
Yeah.
um, which has been like obviously challenging, like in its own way. Um, I feel like if my mom was alive, like she wouldn't be very supportive of me, um, like wanting to pursue art the way that I do. But I feel like now, at the standpoint that she's in now, I do believe that she is seeing everything differently and like with more clarity, and is supporting me and blessing my path. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
You're breaking generational courses
I mean,
and
I hope so.
yeah, no, that's amazing. I'm curious, have you experienced any kind of not really spooky, but like strange happening since she's passed that you just kind of know is her from the other side?
Um, I haven't experienced like since she's passed, and I actually regret not asking her because when she was in the hospital, I kept like thinking I should ask her like if this happens, like how would you show yourself to me? And I never asked her that because death was a subject that we just didn't like talk about. But I did have an experience right when she like the cancer started taking over her and she uh the moment where she started getting more ill and ended up in the hospital. um so I woke up one day feeling like super ill, like I couldn't and I didn't know what, like I was feeling perfectly fine the day before, and I was puking and like and feeling like I have a like fever and I'm super so weak I can't get out of bed, and um and it just so happened that that was my mom's birthday.
Mm.
And I called her and I could barely like utter words like to her, and she was like I told her like I'm feeling like these symptoms, and she was saying like yeah I'm feeling exactly the same, like those
Oh,
exact
wow.
same symptoms. And I wished her happy birthday and then we hung up, and she was hospitalized the next day. And that's when everything started going downhill.
Mm.
Um, so I don't know, that's not really answering your question, but maybe you can share with me if you've experienced anything post death or even prior.
Yeah, no, I think it does. Are you her only daughter?
No, we have, like, I have a sister.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting connection though, like right at that moment.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I think that there's been a lot of interesting signs and symbols. I tend to pay attention to that kind of stuff. Um, Dreamscapes that have led up to her death, and then also the experience of losing her that have served as guides for me. That I return to those dreams and I remember them to remind myself what to do or that what's next is okay and going to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, since my mom passed, I've had this interesting experience uh, of losing objects that either were hers or represent her. Um, and to give this a little bit more context, after my mom passed away, um, a little bit before that, my partner and I started planning to leave the United States. So when she passed, that plan began accelerating in speed, quitting my job, selling all of our stuff, selling our car, like all of our possessions. So I was in this very uh, like letting go mode, letting go of pretty much everything and my attachment to everything. But there were obviously, when someone passes away, certain things that you wish to remain attached to that remind you of them or that feel significant. And I began mysteriously like losing those things. I had this beautiful pink tourmaline crystal that I took to her repasts and, displayed it by her pictures and stuff. Um, that crystal disappeared. I don't know what happened to it. I inherited a ring of hers and lost the stone in the ring. Um, and I also inherited a cross stitch of hers, um, which she tried her darndest to finish that damn cross stitch. I gave it to her when she started chemo as like something to keep her busy during the treatments. And it was of poppies and hummingbirds, which are like my two favorite things. So she couldn't finish it though, before she lost all her faculties. So my intention was to finish the cross stitch on her behalf, and the cross stitch disappeared. Um, so I've had this interesting experience of like continuous loss after losing her. But at this point, it's like, okay, universe, like, what are you gonna take from me now? Um, but I feel like they've been important messages because really, at the end of it all, you can't take anything with you. No matter how precious it is or how sentimental the object, when it's your time to go, you're going to leave that behind also. So I feel like in some ways I've been pushed to the edge of surrender in many different ways to just allow myself, um, to be unattached and to not get too attached to her or the memory, the like physical objects that remind me of her, but instead to embody her energy, to be as she was, which was full of life and full of joy. And I'm doing that now, I feel, through the choices that I'm making to pursue my creative expression, to build awakened creators, to paint and to write stories and to do the things that bring me joy, even in the smallest of moments of just dancing because it feels good, you know. And in those ways, I get to have her always and forever, whether or not I have the crystal or the ring or the cross stitch.
That resonates so much with me. Yeah, that was the lesson that ayahuasca shared with me as well, that she's in us, that we are like her offspring, so we have a part of her in us, but we also have a part of her spirit in us and her lessons in us. And yeah, that's so beautiful. Like your mom sounds like such a like joyful woman, like full of like warm energy. And yeah, I can feel her here like with us now, and like seeing that we are honoring her. Yeah. And my mom was like, her energy, she's more like this very, this is the thing I love about her, that I don't have these qualities like at all. Like she's very like for example, like her handwriting is immaculate. Like this like perfect, she's
Wow.
super organized. She's like, her illustrations are like super realistic, like and she's not even trying.
Wow.
And yeah, this like very disciplined person, and this is something that I'm trying to learn to embody as well, because I see the value in this now, especially when
Mm.
I'm pursuing my art. There's an aspect of it that's really like grounded and practical and like disciplined and like organized. um, and this is a beautiful lesson that she taught me. Um, yeah, and um, she came to me in dreams. She came to me in 3 dreams. And I was wondering, like, after she passed, like, why don't I feel her? Like, why can't I see her? Like, why is it like, you
Mm.
know, I don't know. Like, there wasn't any like anything that happened that made me know this is her, right? And the first dream that I felt her, it was just her voice, and this was like already a few months after she passed. The second dream, I felt her, but I couldn't see her still.
Mhm.
And then the third dream, I finally saw her and she like gave me a hug. She's like, everything's gonna be fine. And yeah, but she has this like very like stern energy also, you know, like this, like a woman that's been through shit, you know, and like she's soft but like not too soft, you know. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like yeah.
That's amazing. And I wanted to know how her energy and way of being had influenced your art. So I'm glad that you
Mm,
were able to articulate that.
mm. And someone asked, like, they're curious about our relationship with our mom before they passed.
Hmm. That's a good question. Relationships with mothers, right? Um,
That's I
they
love that.
have their ups and downs, their twists and turns, especially
Yeah.
as a daughter to a mother. When you mentioned your mom being really stern,
Mm,
while I wouldn't say my mom was stern, she was a Virgo moon. So was like
mm,
her emotional and motherly nature was very Virgo, very practical, very,
mm,
we had our needs met and things like that.
mm,
But yeah, growing up, actually, I remember being really jealous of my mom,
oh,
because my dad loved her so deeply
mm,
and gave her all his attention and, affection that I felt, kind of almost like I was competing with her
mm,
for my dad's attention. So that took me a while to unpack as I
mm,
got older.
mm,
And again, too, my mom was really independent. Um, she was fiercely like, this is my life. I'm gonna live it how I want to live it. Um, which I mean, she was diligent. She went to work and did all that. But then when she got a little older and closer to, able to make more choices, she made the choices that would make her happy. And so I think
mm,
for a long time, I associated pursuing your passions with selfishness because, from my perspective as
wow.
a child, it was like being dragged around from
Oh my
passion to
gosh.
passion,
Mm,
that they wanted to have a restaurant and then they wanted to go RVing and then they wanted to do this over here. And I would just kind of be dragged around, especially as a teenager,
mm,
you're trying to find yourself and moving all the time and stuff like that can be really jarring. So, yeah, now I'm really trying to unlearn that and recognize
Mm.
that, you know, the pursuit of the things that I feel called to do in this life and called to create and to set boundaries with my own kids and family and say like, no, I need time to nurture my creative side. Um,
Mm.
I really had to work at that and at being comfortable with asking for that, um, because I had kind of built up a lot of resentment
Mm.
and things towards that kind of those
Mhm.
kind of choices.
Wow. That's definitely a contrast with my experience. Um, but yeah, like I think it's kind of like now it's funny, like this example of like my relationship with my mom. Like before, I thought that I didn't have the best relationship with her. Um, but then after she passed, I realized that like our relationship, like I was really close with her. Like we were talking like on the phone like hours every day. And like
Wow.
we had a typical mother-daughter relationship, you know. It's not like rainbows and butterflies. Like we're different people. We have, you know, generational differences, cultural differences, like, and we did the best, you know, but we were close. But I didn't realize that until she passed. Um, and a funny anecdote of like, so I tell people this like now as a joke, like, but one of her last wishes on her deathbed was that I would like cut my dreads off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like at the time, obviously, I was like, "Mom, like, I think you have more important things, like more important things to think about right now." Um, but and I was kind of hurt and like pissed about it, right?
Mm.
Of course, I didn't like express that to her, but then after she passed, I realized that like it's funny, like it's just like that's like the epitome of like the mother-daughter relationship, you know, like like even on her deathbed, you know. um so yeah, I wish that I could have laughed at it more, like when she was alive, like instead of getting, you know, feeling hurt or angry, like I would have been like, oh mom, like that's so ridiculous, you know. um and yeah, but my mom didn't pursue her dreams at all. Like she um yeah, she sacrificed herself like completely. Like she never did what she wanted. Um for some reason she didn't feel like she could uh do what she wanted, and she kept like putting it off, and I would always tell her, mom, like, you know, she wanted to take painting classes. She's been telling me that for like 20 years. And it's
Wow.
like I keep supporting her, but she kept putting it off, or like she wanted one of her dream was to live overlooking the sea. I'm like, mom, you can do that. Like, just, you know, I support you. Like, I know you can do it. And so, yeah, she kept putting it off, and then she passed. And that made me realize that, like, I don't want to put off things. Um, like, I want to pursue what fills my heart and brings me joy and live my life in joy and bliss. Um, so that's also one of the things that really pushed me to like pursue my art more seriously. Someone asked, uh, do either or both of you believe you will see your moms again in the next realm? Maybe you wanna. You want to answer that first?
Um, I mean, I guess I'll just preface by saying, I mean, I
You don't
hope
know.
so.
You don't
I
know.
hope so. I mean, uh, I do feel like already the connection is there.
Mm.
Um, so if it's just a matter of physicality separating us, then once that physicality is gone, yeah, sure. Why not? I don't see why that's
Mm.
not possible. But I
Mm.
am thankful that I don't have to wait, that I feel like
Mm.
I can connect whenever I need to. And I do often
Mm.
um, call to her. And generally, it immediately starts the waterworks when I call to her. And I
Mm.
feel like, though, the immensity of that pain that comes rushing in when I call to her is like a direct reflection of the bigness of our love. So I try to look at it that way when it comes in and it hurts so bad
Mm.
that it's really because the love is so big. And that brings me comfort
Mm.
through the tears.
Mm. It's so true that there is no other love like a mother's love. It's such a powerful force. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel it's just it's infinite.
Mm.
It's
It
infinite
is.
and
Mm. Um, in in the last dream that I had of my mom, she actually told me she was holding she was laying down and she had a blanket over her, and at some point like I saw that she was holding a baby and I'm like, who's that? And she's like, oh, I'm with him right now and he's gonna come through at some point. And I'm like, okay, like who is he gonna come through? Like me, my sister, my dad? She's like, I don't know, but I'm with him right now. Um, so yeah, that doesn't really answer the question. I'm sorry, I can't. But do I think I'm gonna meet her? I do. I do believe that I will. I believe she's with me now, but I believe that um, I don't know, like 6 months before she passed, I started kind of obsessing about near-death experiences and
mm,
like listening to a lot of stories by different people. And I felt a lot of comfort in that, in these stories, and in how a lot of these stories had a lot of like parallels and like similar like symbols and things like that. And I felt like I do feel like we will meet our loved ones when we cross over. Um, yeah, I feel like that they're there to support us in that transition.
mm, mm. That's great. Yeah. Well, we're coming up on an hour. I'm not sure how long you wanted to
Wow,
chat, but
it's
I
been a
know, right?
while. It's
It definitely doesn't feel like an hour has passed. What would be what would be your kind of takeaway and not necessarily advice, but like if you could share some words of comfort or encouragement to the folks tuning in who might be going through the same thing or have in the past.
Um, I'm not sure if my advice is like doable, but um, I really felt like after my mom passed that, you know, as a society, we're kind of, we don't really honor like death, like the ritual of like honoring our deaths. And I know that, like, I mean, the Western society. I know that there are cultures where, like, after someone passes, like, you dedicate, like, it depends on the culture, but sometimes it's like, I don't know, 12 days, sometimes it's 40 days, to really just sit and honor the one that passed and to grieve, allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to feel everything, um, and not like try to distract ourselves and like push down our emotions and like act like we're okay or um and also like I feel like grief comes in so many ways. Like we there isn't one way of grieving and there isn't a right or wrong way to grieve. um but I do believe that it's important to allow ourselves to grieve in whichever way it comes. um yeah, I'm kind of like I hide behind my like like my silliness, you know, like I it's hard to allow myself to like be fully vulnerable, but on the inside, like um yeah, like it takes a lot for me. Um maybe that's why I needed like the medicine to allow me to just let it out. Um yeah, that's what's coming through me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that is an important point to make, that at least for Western culture, that we don't have a lot of skills in terms of dealing with death and
Mhm.
grief and how or what's okay, what's not okay. And I think because of that, it's important that we give ourselves compassion
Mhm.
to experience all kinds of weird, wacky, whether it's distracting ourselves or covering it with humor. Like, we're all just doing the best that we can
Mhm.
to cope with these emotional surges that come up and, move through it. So I would hope that we can find some compassion for ourselves and forgiveness for ourselves, and not and not add insult to injury by layering with expectations of what it's supposed to look like
Mhm.
or what it's supposed to be, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, be gentle with ourselves.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes. Be a mother to
Mhm.
ourselves, mother ourselves
Mhm.
through that experience, for sure. Yeah. Well, I hope that, this conversation has been fruitful to those tuning in. I know that I got a lot out of it, and I learned a lot about your beautiful mother and about you, and
Mhm.
I'm thankful for that, for your willingness to share. and to be vulnerable.
Mm.
And I love your goofy smile. I think that it's a beautiful layer to wear, and it's okay.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you so much for holding this space in such a beautiful way and for guiding this conversation and for being open to having this dialogue. And
Well, thank you for inspiring it.
I hope Deanna Joy is enjoying. Hey.
I think they are. I think they are enjoying it.
Do you think both
Seeing
our
us,
mothers are like together right now and like?
yeah, seeing their daughters shine. They're little Leos. They're little
I
Leo
know. We even
daughters.
like did our hair the same way. Like we both
Oh
dyed our hair.
yeah.
We're so
See? I'm telling you. It's crazy cool. The connection's crazy cool. So, logistics for those of you who have tuned in, I'm gonna post a replay of this chat on YouTube, on the Awakened Creators YouTube channel. So if you missed part of it or you want to send it to a friend who you feel like could get something out of it, it will be available by tomorrow. I'll have it up there. And then, yeah, if you're looking for any kind of support, here we are. I can be found at Awakened Creators. And Liana, do you want to let people know where they can connect with you?
Yeah, they can connect with me through my IG, which is Samana Creativa. And somebody just said that the braid hair is a symbol of motherhood. So that's
Wow.
interesting how we both intuitively like felt drawn to
Yeah, I did not know that.
that's
Thank
that's
you.
amazing. Hmm.
Beautiful. And tomorrow we have a gorgeous Aries full moon. So,
Oh wow.
an opportunity I feel to really light the fires of our passions and allow ourselves to step further into the life that we desire
Mm. Mm-hmm.
in honor of our loved ones, in honor of them.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, thank
Mm.
you. I
Thank you
love
so
you.
much. I
I
love you
love you,
too.
love you, love you. And
Mm.
I love you all who are watching. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful day. Namaste.